Hi. So I wanted to talk a little bit about monopolies. This is something that I kind of have a pretty strong bias against monopolies. That has been challenged in some fundamental ways into my research into certain comments by the likes of Peter Thiel recently. Peter Thiel, he's by all intents and purposes, almost like a silent partner with Elon Musk on a lot of his stuff. He's part of the PayPal mafia. He's not a true silent partner. I'm just saying that because most people don't really know who he is. And he said something that was really kind of perturbing to me when I first heard it about 6 months ago. That everyone in tech should be trying to make a monopoly. And that's something that really kind of, shook me to the core because I really align with pretty much everything he says up until that point. But I really thought about that more and more, and I thought about, what is a monopoly? Like, what are these things? Like, I have a lot of biases towards monopoly, so I wanted to analyze my idea of a monopoly to see if I was on the right track or not. And what I really came to in conclusion is that there's actually two types of monopolies, two fundamental types of monopolies that I had never realized. No one had ever explained to me. I don't know if there are, more official definitions of these things. So for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call them practical monopolies and ideal monopolies. So practical monopolies, let's start there. Practical monopolies are everything that we have come to know, like monopoly as. Like these are when businesses believe that, as I think it was Rockefeller said, competition is sin. That was the dogma he learned from Cornelius Vanderbilt back, in the rise of American industrialization in the second industrial age in the 1800s. So practical monopolization is everything that antitrust laws fight against. It's competition is sin. It's very, very totalitarian. It's looking for complete market control. So then what is an ideal monopoly? So an ideal monopoly is really interesting. An ideal monopoly is everything that antitrust stuff is based off of. An ideal monopoly is a monopoly of ideals. They want monopolistic control over certain ideals. And what are things that are included in ideals? Well, definitions are a really big thing. You can't have ideals without, definitions. So control over definitions has to do with ideals. We see this in pretty much any dogma, any belief system. So macroeconomic theories, these are all, pretty much gunning for ideal monopolies where they want to have a monopoly over ideals. Some other more relatable representations of ideal monopolies are typically things we want. We want access to knowledge or ability to, provide for our needs, whether that's shelter, water, food. We want either, access to clean water, or we want the knowledge to know how to find or collect clean water. Those are the kind of things that would fall under the ideal monopoly realm. So ideal monopolies are ironically a good thing. Those are the kind of things we want. We want, pretty everyone to have access to the internet, and those kind of things are ideal monopolies. Ideally, we want everyone to have access to education. We want everyone to have access to opportunity. Like that's the kind of ideal monopoly. Ideal monopolies at their heart are a good thing, where everyone can have access to freedom, everyone can have access to these kind of things. But ideal monopolies also reserve the rights to say, like, these people, they should not have access to the same things that other people who, live and let live have access to. And that's where things like self-defense come into play and all that kind of stuff. But ideal monopolies, they are like authority models, typically, whether or not they're governmental, political, academic. And it's really important to understand that ideal monopolies contradict that competition is sin. And really what it is ideal monopolies thrive on competition. Ideal monopolies are things like libertarians believe in, like free market, stuff like that, where it's an ideal monopoly, where if the free market was a global monopoly, then everyone would have open access to do things. That's what an ideal monopoly is. But there's really not a term for this that I found. So if you found, terms or definitions that other people have already used to define these things, like, please share them with me in the comments, shoot me a message, whatever. Like, I'd really like to know more about this kind of stuff, because I haven't heard anybody really defining monopolies in this way, and I find that a lot of ideas are really not new. They're just badly branded or badly defined in a way that's really useful. We do a lot of this branding one aspect and then leaving the rest as like it's just not that. Like, hard science, for example, you either have hard science or not hard science, where, anything that's not a hard science kind of gets, the shit end of the stick. But really, better branding, I think, is essential for, ideas, especially in a world where we can have peer-to-peer debates of ideals, essentially. So this is something that's really important to me, because I really want to understand these sort of things, because I wouldn't say that my idea of monopolies was, changed, but it was really compounded upon in a way that I think is a lot more fluid, makes a lot more sense, and the thing that's really disrupting is, okay, so it's not just monopolies are absolutely bad. There's such a thing as good monopolies, like monopolies that we all know about, we all care about, and we all want to be a monopoly, ironically. And these are monopolies of, I guess, open access, or in the tech world, they may call it open source. It's very, very interesting that there are these nuanced systems hiding right underneath these complex systems that just, we don't really know exist, but we also know exist. Like, we have tracked the evidence, but we've never given it a proper term or reference. So I just wanted to share this. Please feel free to share this with other people. Get a conversation going. Let me know what you think. I'm really, really interested in this kind of stuff. I want to know more. I want to know what I don't know about this. I've been researching economics and these kind of theories for a long time, and I've never really come across anything that explains anything like I'm addressing. So I'd like to know more.